Most people talk about longevity like it's a secret code, a supplement stack, a perfect morning routine, a biohacking device you can't pronounce. But every once in a while, someone shows up who quietly reminds you that the basics still work, especially when you actually live them for decades. James Hong is one of those people. If you don't recognize the name right away, you've definitely seen the face or heard the voice. He's been in film and TV for more than 7 decades, and in 2023, at age 94, he attended the Oscars for the first time in his life. After 70 years in show business, he walked that carpet and basically said, "Yeah, I'm 94. I finally made it." And the year before that, on May 10th, 2022, he received his own star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame at 93, becoming the oldest person to receive the honor. Now here's the part that matters for you and me. It's not just that he's lived a long time, it's that he's still there, still sharp, still present, still working, still laughing, still curious. So the real question isn't, how do you live longer? It's, how do you stay alive while you're alive? Because that's what people mean when they say longevity. They don't mean more birthdays. They mean more life in the years they already have. Today, I want to walk you through 5 simple longevity anchors that show up again and again in James Hong's story. Habits and mindsets that don't require perfection, don't require expensive tools, and don't require you to become a different person. And just to be clear, this isn't medical advice. This is a human story, translated into practical principles you can actually use. Let's start with what makes this story so powerful. James Hong was born on February 22nd, 1929. That means as you're watching this, he's in his mid-90s, still active, still engaged, and still part of culture, not watching it from the sidelines. And culturally, that's rare. Not because older people can't contribute, they absolutely can, but because most societies slowly train people to shrink, to slow down, to stay safe, to not bother anyone, to accept a smaller life. James Hong did the opposite, and that decision, over and over, adds up. So what are the anchors? Here's the first one. James Hong didn't retire from purpose. He stayed attached to something that gave him energy, work, craft, contribution. In interviews, you can feel it. He doesn't talk like someone counting down his remaining time. He talks like someone who still wants to build something. This matters more than people realize. In longevity medicine, we talk about the usual pillars: movement, nutrition, sleep, stress, relationships. But there's another pillar that quietly shapes all of them: purpose. Because purpose is what makes you get up and move when you don't feel like it. Purpose is what makes you prepare food instead of giving up and ordering whatever's easiest. Purpose is what makes you reach out to someone when your brain says, "Don't bother." Purpose is not a motivational quote. It's a metabolic signal. It changes your behavior, your stress levels, your consistency. And purpose doesn't have to be your job title. It can be a role, a project, a mission, a promise you made to yourself, something you're building for your family, something you want to master before you're done. The key is that it pulls you forward, and James Hong had that pull forward. Even when the industry didn't make it easy, even when he was offered roles that were small, stereotyped, or limiting, he kept going. He stayed in the game long enough to outlast the era that underestimated him. That brings us to the second anchor: persistence without bitterness. A lot of people hear persistence and imagine pushing harder, but real persistence is quieter than that. It's continuing to show up without turning your setbacks into your identity. This is because when individuals encounter challenging circumstances such as health issues, rejection, failure, or unfairness, they tend to develop a persistent mindset. Some people go through it and decide, "This is proof life is against me." This belief leads to a chronic state of stress. Other people go through it and decide, "This is part of my story. I'm still moving." That doesn't mean pretending everything is fine. It means you don't let pain become the boss. James Hong grew up dealing with discrimination and the feeling of not fitting in, and instead of letting that freeze him, he kept building. That matters for aging because stress isn't just an emotion, it's chemistry. Chronic stress pushes people toward worse sleep, worse food choices, less movement, and more isolation. And that combination quietly accelerates decline. So the goal isn't to live stress-free. That's not real. The goal is to build the ability to recover. Which brings us to the third anchor, movement that's enjoyable enough to repeat. In the reference script, there's a strong focus on him staying active, walking, practicing martial arts, keeping his body loose. Whether it's kung fu, tai chi, walking, or light strength training, what matters is the pattern. He kept his body in the habit of being used. And this is where a lot of people get stuck. They think exercise must look like punishment. They think it has to be intense to count. But for longevity, the best exercise is the one you'll still be doing 5 years from now. The body responds to consistency more than drama. A daily walk done for years can change your entire health trajectory. Blood sugar control, mood, sleep quality, joint health, balance, and independence. And independence is the real prize. Because when people lose mobility, everything else becomes harder. Nutrition becomes harder, social life becomes harder, sleep becomes harder. So if you're watching this and thinking, I'm not an exercise person, try this mindset shift. Don't ask, what workout do I hate least? Ask, what movement makes my day feel better afterward? Consider taking a walk while listening to your favorite music. A 10-minute mobility routine can help your back feel more relaxed. 2 simple strength moves that make you feel capable again. That's the longevity version of training. Stay usable. Now the fourth anchor, mental engagement. Staying curious, not just busy. There's a difference between being busy and being mentally alive. Being busy can lead to endless repetition, but curiosity is different. Curiosity is the brain saying, there's still something to learn, something to try, something to improve. James Hong's career didn't keep him young because it was famous. It kept him young because it demanded engagement. New scripts, new people, new environments, problem solving, memory, timing, and creativity were all integral parts of his career. Your brain loves that. Not because it's comfortable, because it's stimulating. For everyday life, you don't need Hollywood to copy this. You can build mental engagement through learning a skill you're slightly bad at, teaching someone else joining a group where you have a role, reading with the intention to use the information projects that force you to plan, solve, and adapt. And here's the key. It should be meaningful engagement, not just scrolling. Scrolling busily drains the mind. Purpose busy builds the mind. Now the fifth anchor, connection and contribution, being part of something bigger than you. James Hong didn't just act. He became part of a larger effort to improve Asian American representation in entertainment, and he co-founded East West Players early in his career. That's contribution, and contribution does something powerful. It protects you from self-obsession. One of the sneakiest threats to mental health, especially as people age, is the tendency to shrink into a life that revolves only around personal worries, symptoms, and fears. Contribution flips the lens outward. It gives you a reason to stay sharp. It gives you a reason to show up. It brings people around you. And yes, social connection is a legitimate health factor. When people feel isolated, they tend to move less, eat worse, sleep worse, and spiral faster. So if your life feels small right now, don't start with a massive transformation. Start with one simple question. Where can I be useful this week? Useful can be small. Checking on someone, helping a neighbor, joining a community group, being the person who brings consistency to your family, mentoring someone younger, volunteering once a month. When you become useful, you become connected. When you become connected, you become more resilient. And resilience is one of the most underrated longevity skills. Now, let's bring this all together into something practical. It's simple to observe a narrative such as this and conclude, yes, that's him. He's special. But longevity isn't a personality trait. It's a collection of repeated behaviors. So here's a simple challenge. No perfection required. Over the next 7 days, pick one anchor to strengthen. Purpose. Write one sentence about what you're building right now. Persistence. Identify one setback you're carrying and decide what your next small move is anyway. Movement. Walk 10 minutes a day, not to burn calories, to keep your body usable. Curiosity. Learn one small skill, something that makes you think. Contribution. Do one useful thing for someone else without needing credit, just one. Once you demonstrate to your brain that you can fulfill your promises, everything becomes easier. And that's the real quiet secret behind people who age well. They keep making small promises, then keeping them. That's how you build a life where, even at 93, you're still showing up to milestones. And at 94, you're still walking red carpets for the first time. This isn't because you discovered a miraculous cure, because you stayed engaged. If you want more stories like this, but translated into simple, realistic habits you can actually use, subscribe and tell me in the comments which anchor you want to strengthen first: purpose, persistence, movement, curiosity, or contribution.